The year is 2015. Specifically, November. Phineas and Ferb came to an end that summer and I was still devastated. Star vs. the Forces of Evil had just begun that winter. I was in my first year of high school, and Gravity Falls was on top of the world. 2015 is a year any fan of the show who was there will never forget. It was a year full of some major events that would forever change the show. From the long-awaited reveal of who the author of the journals was, Bill Cipher's importance to the story becoming clearer, the announcement at Comic-Con of Journal 3 becoming a real book.
In 2016, for sale in stores. How many pages, Rob?
256 pages.
256 pages.
The roller coaster of emotions of Dipper and Mabel versus the future, and now Weirdmageddon. Fans were excited. By that month, Part 1 had already aired and Part 2 was on the horizon. But at the same time, many were wondering, what was next? By November 2015, the future of Gravity Falls had not yet been made clear. There hadn't been any announcement about it ending, but also nothing about another season. And with the direction the last few episodes were indicating, it seemed like Season 2 was nearing a close, but yet, nothing about what would be next had yet been revealed. Was Gravity Falls ending? Was Season 3 in the works and not yet something the crew could announce? Was Season 2 going to be longer beyond Weirdmageddon? Were there plans for a movie like in the past had been hinted at? Well, on November 20th, 2015, Gravity Falls creator Alex Hirsch made the announcement many fans didn't want to hear, but had also been ready for. Through a simple tweet linking to a then newly minted Tumblr page, Alex announced that after 2 seasons, 17 shorts, a little over 3.5 years of airing, and countless memories, Gravity Falls would be coming to an end. Goodbye Gravity Falls, as the post is called, has over 80,000 notes on Tumblr as of today, and in a large sense, remains one of the most important, and yet also forgotten about pieces of Gravity Falls history. In many ways, what Alex said in it remains true to this day, and so, as we mark another year of Gravity Falls having ended, I thought it would be fun to revisit this post and see how it holds up a decade later and how, even now, what Alex said in it serves as the basis of mine and likely many others' opinions regarding the show and why we still are here as fans today and will continue to. The blog that Alex posted this to is called shmalexsmirsch, I think. To this day, with the exception of the Gravity Falls crew Tumblr, likely run by more than just him, and the official show Tumblr page run by Disney, it's the only known confirmed Tumblr blog known to be Alex's. And surprisingly, as of recently, it's his only active social outside of Twitter and Instagram. If you look at the likes of the blog, which are public, you'll see that for the longest time, Alex only ever liked one post, which was related to a charity stream in 2016 that he did with Dana Terrace. However now, if you look on it, he's since liked 3 additional posts, and all funny enough, made by people I know. One is a post by Secret2 regarding the Book of Bill, one by my good friend Hannah about their Bill Cipher fanart video, and one by my friend Dipper Pineskin who posted about Bill charms they got. It's pretty cool that Alex in turn probably logged into that Tumblr page for the first time in years to specifically like posts made by some good friends. But anyways, the page itself is called The Mystery Shack, with the description simply reading, "No refund!" And on it lies one single post, the focus of this video, the Tumblr post that ended Gravity Falls. So let's look back on it and see how it holds up. Hey internet, I've got some tough news I have to deliver. Are you sitting down? Do you have a minute? Here, have this picture of a dachshund dressed as a crayon to relax. Everyone good? Okay, here goes. There's no easy way to say it, so I'm just gonna say it. Gravity Falls is coming to an end. There are 2 more episodes left. Weirdmageddon 2, Escape from Reality, and Weirdmageddon 3, which will be our hour-long series finale. After that, Gravity Falls as we know it will be over. I know how tough this will be for many fans, and I feel you guys. But before you start sending me gifts of pitchforks and torches, let me explain. Right off the bat, Alex gets straight to the point, after using the old cute animal photo trick of course. In his first part of the post, Alex pretty much made it clear what's going on and how many episodes of Gravity Falls are left. It's a good rip of the bandage to get fans ready and to set the stage for what he says next. His reasoning for ending Gravity Falls. The first thing to know is that the show isn't being cancelled. It's being finished. This is 100% my choice, and it's something I decided on a very long time ago. I always designed Gravity Falls to be a finite series, about one epic summer. A series with a beginning, middle, and end. There are so many shows that go on endlessly until they lose their original spark. Or mysteries that are cancelled before they ever get a chance to pay off. But I wanted Gravity Falls to have a mystery that had a real answer, an adventure that had a real climax, and an ending that had a real conclusion for the characters I care so much about. This is very unusual in television and a pretty big experiment, and Disney, for their part, has been enormously supportive. I know that hits are rare in this business, and it's hard to let one of them go. So I am so grateful that this company had the vision to let me start, and end, the show the way I always wanted to. Now, there's a lot to unpack here, but it's these 2 paragraphs that have been the guiding principle for me, and probably others, in regards to Gravity Falls, and why it ending was the right call. Gravity Falls was never cancelled. It was finished. As much as people may assume otherwise, and people who should know better may try to say so, this is fact. It was never Disney pulling the plug. It was Alex choosing to let it conclude. Now, while it has been made apparent more so in the years since on just how much planning was actually put into Gravity Falls, and how certain aspects of it were not as planned out as long-term as fans probably initially believed, and many things were probably last-minutely decided, the overall point still stands in how Alex always intended the show to have an ending. Making sure fans are aware of that beforehand is important, as the last thing you would want is folks to assume the show got cancelled prematurely and start a riot over it. But what sticks to me in the first paragraph is Alex's statement of how Gravity Falls is a finite series, set in one summer, and designed with an end. All of us can probably relate to that feeling of summer going by way too fast. We spend 10 months of the year as kids waiting for the bell to ring on the last day of school in June, and then in the blink of an eye, it's September again, and the waiting game begins all over. Summer, like Gravity Falls, has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And that ending is always the hardest part. Sounds familiar? We all have that Mabel in us that dreads the future and wishes summer could go on forever. In the end, when faced with that choice ourselves, I think many of us would want things to be okay. Because normality is familiar, but change is a risk. However, in the same way Mabel learned to not be afraid of growing up and that things change and summer ends, so do we. But through Gravity Falls' end, there are so many shows out there that go on endlessly and lose their spark, or are cancelled before they can pay off. And while there are many well-known examples of both, 2 shows that for me personally fit those criteria well and suffered those fates are Star vs. the Forces of Evil and Infinity Train. I got into Star when Season 3 began, and I watched as it went on and slowly lost so much about itself that originally made it so good in the earlier seasons. I know some will disagree with me on this, but for me personally, Star lost its spark long before its infamous finale, and that more so serves as the last nail in the coffin. In my opinion, that show went on for much longer than it needed to. On the contrary, Infinity Train didn't even get a chance. It was a show with so much to offer. I genuinely loved it, and remembered being excited for what each new book would offer. But, as you know, it got cancelled after only book 4. It was a show that had still so much to offer, yet it got cancelled before it could pay it off. And those are the two fates that Alex Hirsch protected Gravity Falls from enduring by pulling the plug. Think about it. Why do you think Gravity Falls is still so beloved? Because it ended in its prime. It wasn't dragged on for so long that people constantly talk about how so-and-so season were the best and how it fell off with the newer ones that suck, nor was it cancelled and left fans wishing it could have gone on and is now just remembered as a failed hashtag attempt to save it. Gravity Falls didn't lose its charm or fandom even, because it ended when everyone still loved it, and so, they still care for it. Fans don't have to be left wishing the show could have just ended already or mourning over what never happened, because we got everything we needed and now can just enjoy what we got and continue to create our own ideas for it. That's why this is so important. Choosing to end the show the way he did was, for its time, I'd say, pretty big. Though we have seen this repeated since with shows like, for example, Amphibia. Matt Burley had said in his Reddit AMA during Season 2 that the show was a 3-act story, with each season serving as that. Which basically meant that Season 3 would be the last season, and well, Amphibia in turn managed to do exactly what its predecessor show did. Deliver a mystery with a real answer, an adventure with a real climax, and an ending that was worthy of the characters we all cared so much about. That's why for me personally, Amphibia is the true spiritual successor show to Gravity Falls. And again, I'm sure many people may not agree with that statement, but for me personally, I just feel that Amphibia did all the things that Gravity Falls did to make itself as iconic as it did, and I so wish the show could get the same respect and love too, for what Matt Burley managed to do. But anyways, the point of the matter here is, Gravity Falls ending as it did, when it did, was the right call. From there, Alex explains why he waited so long to announce that Gravity Falls was going to be ending, and his reasoning for that is also something I feel was a really good choice. Why did we wait so long to announce that this was the last season? The truth is, it wasn't up to me. Before we started Season 2, my writers and I decided that this season would be the last. I wanted to announce this to the world at large then, but I was restricted from doing so, mainly because I think a lot of people were hoping I'd change my mind. During his AMA on Reddit in 2013, Alex famously said that he'd either want to do 2 seasons and a movie, or 3 seasons. That happened well after Season 2 had been greenlit and likely in production, so in retrospect, that was either Alex covering up the reality of his plan, or he hadn't yet decided that. But in either case, Alex's choice to have Season 2 be the last meant that the crew now only had 1 season left to finish telling their story. And with that, a countdown had begun to the end. Looking back at it all, I feel that Alex's choice to not announce Season 2 would be the final one so early on was a good call. And here's why I think that. Back in May 2021, when the title sequence for Season 2 of The Owl House was released, the show was also greenlit for a 3rd season. However, in a reply to a tweet regarding it, Dana Terrace also revealed that this would be the last season of the show and in turn, essentially confirmed to fans that the show would be ending. Now, others had reported on this too, and a fewer episodes of Season 3 in that turn, but Dana's tweet was essentially confirmation directly that the show was ending. And this spawned a wave of anger in the fandom for that show that I still vividly remember. A lot of the hype for Season 2 also felt like it occurred in the shadow of the show's impending end nearing. Now I should make clear, I'm not here to debate the reasonings The Owl House got canned, or if the show's ending was impeded by that, or to debate how fans reacted to it. For me personally, I feel The Owl House deserved better, and it should have had a full third season. But what I am talking about is the choice by Dana and the crew to reveal that so early on. Remember, Season 3 would not air its first episode until nearly a year and a half after that first confirmation of it being the last. Now, while I get the Owl House's situation was different to what happened with Gravity Falls or even Amphibia, which did end on its creator's terms as planned, I do still feel that announcing that the show was ending as early as that did cause a bit of a shift in how the fandom acted. That in turn is why, in my opinion, I think the fact that Alex waited till only 2 episodes were left to announce GF was ending was the right call. That way, when he announced that Gravity Falls would be over, he really did mean it would be over, and that there would be nothing that could be done to change that fact. Fandoms, as annoying as they can sometimes be, do care for the shows they love. And if they see the creator mentioning something like a shortened season order or that the show is ending, they'll assume the worst. And given that, even after Dana said that the show was over and tried to express the positives of there being longer episodes and as a result, a longer episode to end on, a lot of the discourse about the Owl House come Season 2 was often still focused on the cut, trying to save it, and more, rather than maybe more on the plot or the show's overall incredible second season. And again, I should mention, of course, that may not be the case for every fan's experience, but I at least very certainly remember a lot of fans of the show that I knew were often pretty upset about the cut, something they may not have known till much later, had it not been reported as widely as it did so soon. And I mean, think about it. If Gravity Falls fans went into Season 2 knowing that it was the last one, would the experience have been the same? We may have instead had fans less interested in Season 2's adventure and more so trying to convince Alex to make another season, or go after Disney about it, thinking they had something to do with it instead, or believing that it could cost the show to get another season. It would have made the fandom have to theorize and wonder what happened next, while also living with the knowledge that each episode inched them closer to the end. But now, knowing it was over just as Gravity Falls had begun to set itself up to the end, meant that fans could handle the blow a lot easier and rest knowing that the series was ending as planned, instead of prematurely. So overall, waiting to announce that Gravity Falls was ending was what in turn ensured the show remained exciting and mysterious. Fans did not have to spend each episode premiere wondering if this was it, and instead could keep soldiering on with their theories because, of course, Gravity Falls was still marching ahead. But everything comes to an end eventually. The day comes to an end. The adventure comes to an end. Summer comes to an end. Gravity Falls comes to an end. And in what, in my opinion, remains Alex Hirsch's greatest single quote, he sums up Gravity Falls perfectly in one simple paragraph. But Gravity Falls was never meant to be a series that goes on and on forever. It's meant to be an exploration of the experience of summer, and in a larger sense, a story about childhood itself. The fact that childhood ends is exactly what makes it so precious, and why you should cherish it while it lasts. This paragraph. I still remember reading it in 2017 as I finished watching Gravity Falls for the first time and realized that I had discovered my new favorite show. That line has stuck with me from day one. Gravity Falls is not just a show about mysteries or codes or Easter eggs. Yeah, those are fun, but it's not about that.
Ultimately, Gravity Falls isn't just about codes and Easter eggs, it's about characters.
It's about characters. It's about summer. It's about childhood. Dipper and Mabel are just 2 kids who are at the end of their childhood. They're about to enter their teenage years. The summer in Gravity Falls is their last adventure as kids. Mabel says it perfectly to Dipper and Summerween.
I felt like I was getting a little too old to go trick-or-treating.
That's exactly why we need to go trick-or-treating, Dipper. We're getting older. There's not that many Halloweens left. I guess I didn't realize it was already our last one.
They're getting older. The things they did as kids are now about to end. Growing up and letting go of your childhood is scary, but it's part of life. Gravity Falls' message at the end of the day is about that. Childhood is short. It's finite. It has an ending. So, if you're still a kid, enjoy it while you have it. Go out there and explore. Make memories during the summer that you'll look back on with joy. I'm grateful I have memories like that from my childhood I can look back on. And for Dipper and Mabel, they have the memories of that summer they can look back on and be happy about. Well, almost all of them. But the point being, childhood is not meant to last forever. Neither is summer. And neither in turn is Gravity Falls. Gravity Falls is that hazy childhood memory from a summer long ago. You eventually grow up, but you can look back on it happy at the fact that you got to experience it. And like that childhood memory, it ended. It ended perfectly. There will always be people who will say they want more Gravity Falls. And believe me, I'm not against the idea. If Alex Hirsch was to ever come back to his creation to tell another story, I'd 100% be on board. But that doesn't mean I don't get why he ended it, and firmly believe that was the right call. It's like the stages of grief. Eventually, you have to reach the acceptance stage, no matter how hard leaving the denial stage is. But as someone who has been through so much in the fandom, and seen both the good and the bad sides of it, been told I'm not a true fan for accepting the show is over, and disagreed with by so many people who still hope that season 3 could materialize one day, I get it. I was there too once, and even having read this blog by Alex that explained why, I hoped it would continue to at one point. Accepting that Gravity Falls in the form it aired is over is not easy, but I feel strongly that doing so has made me able to enjoy the show in ways I never would have had I still believed it wasn't over. Knowing GF is over lets me explore more parts of it that I otherwise wouldn't be able to, like its production or the fandom community. I can make and discuss headcanons without fear that the show will do something that will end it. I can explore the obscure side of its production and learn stuff that I couldn't otherwise. I can look forward to every rewatch, knowing that I will finish it off with the same satisfying finale all over again. And when new content does happen, it's a surprise and worth celebrating. The Book of Bill, for example, was a surprise I sure didn't see coming. And yeah, probably a lot of fans in that regard didn't see it coming either. But living with the belief GF is over made the reveal that more exciting, and has given me renewed interest in seeing what could happen next, while also still firm on my stance that carrying on the original story is not the right idea. Dipper and Mabel's adventure is over, and in order to preserve the integrity of Gravity Falls' perfect finale, that adventure, for us at least, needs to stay closed. Contrary to what people will say, See You Next Summer was not an indicator that Gravity Falls would come back. It's not the biggest lie that some people will make you believe it is. It's a way to show us viewers that Dipper and Mabel's lives will go on and continue to happen, but that our time with them is over. Next summer did happen. Dipper and Mabel did return to Gravity Falls one day. But this time around, we weren't there. And that's okay. Because our story with them lasted only one summer. And that's more than enough. After this paragraph, Alex gives thanks to all the fans for their support, kindness, and love for the show and him, as well as his team who worked so hard to create it. He then does a mini Q&A and answers many of the questions that fans probably still had, which are pretty interesting to look back on. Starting off, Alex reiterates that this isn't a prank, as well as stating that his pranks are better than that, which, considering the McGucket hoax and the kind of pranks that people were making on YouTube in 2016, he probably is right there. He then suggests to fans who are still mad about it to blame the GOAT, and so, Gravity Falls in that case ending is Gomper's fault. He then reiterates the fact that there are no plans for a season 3, something that he's repeated many times since that people still can't seem to realize is a fact, and not a troll. Alex also provides an answer for what he'll be doing after Gravity Falls, which, even back then, he didn't 100% know. Of course, today, as of the making of this video, we know that Alex is still working at Netflix, though his deal is probably not as lucrative or working out like it may have been back in 2018 when he signed it. Alex then plugs his Twitter account, which, quite frankly, is a place even he probably doesn't want to be on now, and then comes a question regarding headcanons. Alex mentions to fans that not everything about the finale may satisfy everyone, but that it will likely leave room for stuff like that to be tackled in future GF content like Journal 3 at the time was to do. Of course, since then, other things about the finale we were left wondering about, such as stuff that the Pines got up to after Weirdmageddon and Bill's ultimate fate, have since been answered by Lost Legends and the Book of Bill respectively. Finally, Alex lets fans know that while Gravity Falls may be over, this isn't the last we'll see of the Pines, and of course, he was right. Alex then takes one more time to thank fans as well as Disney, his cast, and the crew. Oh, and by the way, the PS is a code that says Stay Weird in Caesar cipher, and he also mentions to fans to use a hashtag that was used by them during the finale. So, overall, this Tumblr post, written by Alex Hirsch a decade ago, marked the end of one of the greatest cartoons to come out of the 2010s. It's still to this day, for me, an important part of Gravity Falls history, and was a guiding compass for my own experience with the show, and likely for many others as they tried to find their way through those final months of the show's life. Gravity Falls has been part of the lives of so many people, and for each of us, it likely means something different in turn. Maybe it was a show you just watched because it was something on TV. Maybe it was a show you got obsessed with for the story and mystery. Maybe it was a show you got interested in for the characters or the shipping. Maybe it was a show you found during a dark or difficult time in your life. Maybe it was a show that helped you find who you are and what you're capable of. Maybe it was a show that just gave you something to look forward to every time an episode aired on TV. Yeah, maybe to some that's a lot of overthinking and analyzing in regards to a kid's cartoon from a decade ago. But that's what makes Gravity Falls so special. The fact we can all still look back on it and love it in ways few other cartoons can be loved is rare. There's a reason behind Gravity Falls still being so popular and beloved. And I strongly believe that's in part because it ended. We didn't have to watch Gravity Falls decline and suffer a slow and painful end. And we didn't have to see it be cut short too soon and be cancelled like just another series that never got to fulfill its goal. And so long as we don't have to see Gravity Falls be dug up out of its grave and forced into being something it never was supposed to be just to make a quick buck off the name, it will always remain that way. Again, I'm not against more Gravity Falls. Even I deep down wish dearly just to see one more adventure in the sleepy Oregon town we all know and love. But I'd rather live the rest of my life knowing that will never happen again and enjoy the incredible stuff that we got than to see it be ruined and have to pretend it never did. My respect for Alex Hirsch for that reason is beyond great. He could have kept it going. He could have taken another huge bag of cash from Disney by keeping Gravity Falls going and in turn, making it into something far beyond his vision. But he didn't. He didn't sell out. He walked away from it all, and in turn, left a legacy far greater than he may have had he kept going, and with it, opened the doors for so many of his crew members to create their own shows and movies that have made them just as successful. Sure, people may not like that and think that he was wrong to do that and he should have stayed and just made season 3. But then, it's almost poetically perfect that Alex ended his show's production the same way he ended his show's own story. Think about it. Dipper, the very character in the show based on Alex Hirsch himself, turned down staying in Gravity Falls so he could go home with Mabel and in turn, grow up and enjoy his childhood as normal with her. He could have taken the easy route, stayed and done something that was self-fulfilling, but he chose the option that in the end, benefited and improved the lives of so many more people than just himself. And sure, people may not like that, think that he was wrong and he should have stayed behind and done that instead. But then, they don't get it. they don't get the real message of Gravity Falls in the end. The real message is that everything in life has an end. Life comes to an end. Summer comes to an end. Your favorite show comes to an end. Gravity Falls comes to an end. And now, it's time for us to find our own Gravity Falls, to make our own adventures, and discover our own mysteries. The fact that childhood ends is exactly what makes it so special, and why you should cherish it while it lasts. And the fact that Gravity Falls ended is exactly what made it so special, and why we should cherish it while we can. I've been that GFN, and thank you for watching.